Welcome, fellow Biafrans, lovers of freedom across the world. I welcome you to this amazing platform. Thank you so much for joining us on today's program. I appreciate you. Wherever you are connecting to us from, please, I urge you to like and share this video. Share to family and friends. Share to everyone that is close to you. Make sure you spread this gospel that everyone must hear. Remember, in this platform, we bring informations that has to do with the restoration of independence of Biafra, informations coming from the Prime Minister, Mazi Simon Ekpa. In this platform, we promote the restoration of the independent state of Biafra. And that is why we bring you informations on those things that are happening in the zoo that are unspeakable, the evil of the zoo, the lawlessness in the Zoological Republic, the intimidation, the atrocities. We expose it in this platform. And I'm going to share with you a very important video that is going to blow your mind. You know, in their conventional media, they continue to make some mistake and continue to push their lies and blackmail. I want you to watch this. I bet after watching it, you will never remain the same. Watch, and you will see what is happening in the Zoological Republic, how they are twisting words. Watch closely.
So you heard that jubilation. Prince Francis Tilaka is here with me. Would you like to quickly react to that while we move on to the proper cabinet reshuffle?
Remember 2 things. I told you that the woman does not have the character and does not have
character, but she's been active. She and Wiki, who has better character?
I'm coming to that.
She
does not have the character to run a ministry such as that. If you recall, I think it was there was a time, it was not quite long when they had a conference in Abuja, and in front and in the glare of everyone, when she was invited to speak, she started chastising her directors.
She actually gate-crashed that event.
Yes, and then I remember I said it here that a minister shouldn't act like a baby. A managing director of any establishment does not act childishly. If you act childishly in public, the import of that is that you do not have what it takes to manage.
So do you blame her action and not blame the cause? Because if you look at the cause of that action, she claimed that people were using money to just hold conferences without really impacting the people. Sir?
There are better ways to address issues. How would you feel if the chairman of VOP walks into the studio now and begin to lambast you in public? Nobody with common sense would do that. Not a minister. And so it calls to question the kind of people President Bola Tinubu has continued to appoint as ministers. In the one hand, you have Uju. On the other hand, you have Wike. These are people who just talk in public as if those that they are meant to work with, those that are accountable to them, as if they are no human beings. Every human being has integrity. Respect it. As a minister, as a leader, what shows you the character, what shows the character of a leader is your ability to see something wrong, call those responsible in your caucus and discuss with them. Not only that, the other day she was sharing money, and I asked you a question. When did it become her responsibility to be sharing money? How do these people sleep at night? How do they think at night? How do they feel at night? When you degrade the people, when you bring the people down.
But many will tell you that she certainly revived the Women Affairs Ministry, because people
how did she revive it?
Haven't been hearing of that ministry.
The only way you hear about it is when she's shouting at those that are working under her, just like Wike does. So for me, it's I give Mr. President kudos for that. I'm even surprised Mr. President didn't send Mr. Wike back to Port Harcourt.
Oh, so you ought
to have sacked him.
Them too.
Yes. You don't have people without character walking around the whole place as ministers.
Now that he didn't sack him, what do you think?
Well,
that means the president is impressed with
No. The president is enjoying the drama playing out in Rivers State.
Oh, you think he's enjoying?
Yes, he's enjoying it. Whatever is playing out in Rivers State Mr. President is looking at benefiting from it in 2027.
But should a president people are worried and asking that if he truly cares about the peace and security of the people generally, should he encourage or perhaps leave that situation the way it is in Rivers?
Everything in Nigeria has become politicized. And don't forget, this is a president who believes in politics. He sleeps, eats, wakes politics. So whatever he is doing, whoever this president is appointing, either as a minister or a board director, he's appointing everybody that he believes will be useful for him in the coming days.
All right, so moving on now, let's go straight to the cabinet reshuffle. As today, the president sacked 5 ministers. Let's say 6, because I've forgotten Auntie Betta Edu.
No, Betta Edu cannot be added as one. She has not been a minister for a long time. I'm just waiting for them to finish the investigation.
Now.
What has come out of the investigation? I hope Mr. President will not assume that Nigerians have forgotten, because if he assumes that, then it means that this president does not understand what the Nigerian people are capable of. We want to see the end of that investigation on Betta Edu. We want it published. Then there will be peace.
Okay, if you say so. So moving on to other issues very quickly. Let's just get straight to that. So the president appointed or sacked 5 ministers today and appointed new ones, 7 more, and restructured ministerial portfolios to reinvigorate his administration's capacity to deliver on his promises to Nigerians. Now, Bayo Onanuga, Special Advisor to the President, Information and Strategy, made the announcements today while briefing the State House correspondents after the Federal Executive Council meeting today. Now, the ministers sacked include Barrister Uju Kennedy Ohaneye. You just heard her voice. We just heard jubilation from her ministry. Minister of Women Affairs, Lola Adejon, Minister of Tourism, and Professor Tahiri Maman, Minister of Education. Others are Abdullahi Gwazo, Minister of State, Housing and Urban Development, and Dr. Jamila Bio Ibrahim, Minister of Youth Development. I'd like you to react to this before we go to the appointments. You've already lauded the sack of the Women Affairs Minister, Uju Kennedy Ohaneye, but let's look at the Minister of Tourism, Professor Lola Adejon, the Minister of Tourism. Do you think her sack was deserving?
You know, a lot of these names you just reeled out, other than Minister of Education, we hardly hear about them. We don't know what they're doing.
What do you think the state, or what were your expectations to the state of our tourism in Nigeria?
You know that tourism in Nigeria has become more like it's become moribund. It's dead because of insecurity in the land. So anybody you're appointing as a minister has a lot of work to do. People don't travel anymore. People don't move around freely. So where are you going to do your tourism? Are you going to go from here to the north? Say you're looking for hippopotamus in Zamfara State, or you're going to go to Obutukato Ranch that has almost been forgotten. You need to have structures in place where people can go, and you also need security. So in terms of tourism, in terms of culture, even in our culture, what are they doing about it? Nigeria is divided along ethnic lines. What has that ministry done to be able to bridge it? That's the responsibility of that ministry, to use culture to bridge our relationships, to bring Nigeria together as one. But they're not doing that. So as far as I'm concerned, there's one person I was even expecting on that list I haven't heard of. And I don't know why he's there. So for me, I feel that Mr. President is leaving those who are helping him to inflict pains and push Nigerians into abject poverty.
Like who?
The Minister for Power.
Oh, Adilabu.
He should have gone.
Why?
Why won't he go? How many times have the national grid collapsed under his watch?
You think the president is unaware?
How many times? So why would the president keep somebody who comes out in public to insult the Nigerian people? It simply means that the president is happy with those who go about insulting the Nigerian people. Reason why he has kept people like Wike and Adilabu there. The Minister of Education, everybody wanted him to go.
Why?
The man doesn't seem to understand what education is all about. He's taking us back, just as they took us back with the national anthem. He's taking us back.
How do you mean?
Look at the thing that was going on between his ministry, especially JAMB. trying to censor
the WIAC thing. Okay.
Yes, trying to censor
The age
when yes,
limitation.
it is the height of mediocrity.
I was even going to say that most of the people, some good number of the people who graduated recently were very young. We had a graduate of 19 years old from Babcock University, and she made a first class. Another first class graduate. In fact, lots of first class graduates below 22. And that is to say that they got into university before the age of 18.
Let us be very honest with ourselves. These our education administrators, so to call them, a lot of them, most of them, their children are schooling abroad. How many of them have been able to go to those schools and say, oh, don't allow my son or my daughter to get to the next level because he's not right.
But those countries have standard and age.
No, I'm coming. Yes, they have. We're not debating. We're not arguing it. But I think that if you look at it, there are special kids. Whether we want to accept it or not, there are kids who are special. You cannot deny them. It's a fundamental human right. You cannot deny them that. So for me, the Minister of Education is a good one. Let him just go and sit down, and rest. I'm sure tomorrow he will tell us that he didn't even know anything about education before he was foisted on the ministry.
But he also has a Minister for State. How about that?
Well, who is the minister? Is it the Minister of State? Okay. The Minister of State is like the Vice President, okay. He's just a spare tire.
But a lot of people were jubilating at the appointment of before we get to the appointment, let's just go on, because I was going to mention that of Bianca Ojukwu, but let's just go on. So you think that it's fair that the Minister of Education, that of Tourism, left, and the Minister of Housing and Urban Development? I was going to talk about that because it looks like we've never had housing deficits like we've had it in 2024. Have
you seen one estate said to be built or under construction by this government? Have you seen any? I keep saying, and I'll keep emphasizing on it. When you had the late Lateef Jakande of blessed memory, when you talk of Jakande, you talk of the late Simon Bakwe. These are people who had patriotism flowing through their veins. It was about the people. It wasn't about them. It wasn't about, enriching themselves. They believed that they are there to serve the Nigerian people. When there was, accommodation issue in Lagos, where landlords became something else, Jakande just kept quiet. He just started building estates. So at the end of the day, there were options. It's either you want to take the one built by the state government that was cheaper, or you go for the one that, built by private developers. So that is the way it should be. Government is meant to provide alternatives to the people. But we have not seen that in recent times. We have not. And that is why when this, is it the FCC, the protection agency, what they call them, when they come out and begin,
FCCPC.
Yes, when they come out and begin to say, we're going to force traders or force everybody to bring down prices, I laugh. You don't do that, and you cannot force people to bring down prices when you have no alternative for them. When last did you hear them come out on radio or TV to talk? Because they found out that they just talked and they became a failure and they had to hide their faces in shame. So, like I said, some of these ministers, they're just there, portfolio, collecting salary at the end of the month, but doing absolutely nothing.
All right, so we'll move on to others. The president also, so there were some appointments for the ministry, other ministries rather. Okay, some of the appointments were that of the Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction Ministry. That is, he got Dr. Nentawe Yilwatda. Sounds like a Plateau State name. I don't know if I'm correct, or somewhere in the Middle Belt, but I'm not very sure. I've not made that. I'll fact check that. Muhammadu Dingyadi as the Minister of Labour and Employment, Mrs. Bianca Ojukwu, Minister of State Foreign Affairs, and Dr. Jumoke Uduwole, Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment. And, and then others are Idi Maiha, Minister of Livestock Development. Minister of Livestock Development. Okay. And then Right Honorable Yusuf Atta. The reason I repeated that, the
Minister of Ruga. Call it what it is.
The last time we talked about livestock development, we're asking that when is the president? We're asking about when the president is going to appoint a minister for that.
Well, he has done
office.
that.
He's done that now. So Idi Maiha is the Minister of Livestock Development, and then Honorable Yusuf Atta is the Minister of State Housing and Urban Development. State Housing and Urban Development, and Dr. Suwaiba Ahmed is the Minister of State Education.
Well, let me say that a lot of them we don't know whether they are technocrats. It is until we begin to read their profiles that we know where they stand. But I hope they're not politicians. Talking about the wife of the late Kimba, which is Bianca. For me, it's a political appointment. It's just one of those appointments you use to say, let me bring down, let it be a semblance that the Igbos, so to say, are now in the government. But the Minister of State, we know that most Ministers of State don't talk. They don't do anything.
Not Wike. Wike talked a lot when he was Minister of State.
You and I know the character of Wike.
In fact, we knew Wike more than his
yes,
minister.
Because that is his character. Wike is one of those persons that he wants everybody to know who he is. And then don't forget that if you have a stubborn, let's assume we had a stubborn minister like Wike as a minister, our ministry would have been chaos, there would have been war. But let's not go there. The point is, appointing Bianca as Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, I honestly don't understand the vision and the mission statement right now. I think it's just to placate the Igbos. That's just it. If you wanted to give the Igbos a post in your government, what stops you from appointing her as a substantive minister? Why Minister of State? This has been the cross of the Igbos. This is where the Igbos keep talking about marginalization. This is the same thing predecessor did. This is the same thing Buhari did. He kept appointing Igbos into ministries that had no teeth, and then the ones that had teeth, he made
Muhammadu Buhari, you meant?
Yes.
Okay.
He made them Minister of State. And in Nigeria, we know that as a Minister of State, except you're a radical, except you're outspoken, nobody hears about you, because it's always the minister that will send you on an errand. Do this, do that. And as it is in Nigeria, there are no defined roles for the minister, neither are there defined roles for the Minister of State. The way the governors treat their deputies, the way the president treats his vice, is the way the ministers treat their ministers of state. But for me, I would have thought, honestly speaking, I would have thought that President Bola Tinubu at this point in time, that Nigeria is going through a lot, economically and financially and everything. I would have thought he would have, cut down on his ministries.
Okay, so I was even going to say something about, I think Dr. Nantawe Yilwatda. He's actually from Plateau State, as I insinuated the other time. I do remember now that he was the governorship candidate for the 2023 election for APC.
So he's a politician.
He's a politician.
Good.
And he's taking over the humanitarian.
So he's been paid back.
So
the humanitarian.
Yes, especially because of the corruption.
Yes. It's a ministry that they all use to siphon money. They tell you that they are they're making cash transfers to Nigerians, to the poor of the poorest, so they call them. But you're doing transfer to people that you have no database to deal with. So for me, I believe that this time that ministry begins to think as if there is no box. This whole idea of transferring money to the poor of the poorest has to stop. This whole idea of palliatives has to stop. Those funds should be invested to create and build cottage industries, create employment, and let the people be gainfully employed, and let them help the government, in terms of employing others. So this whole idea of, you have this ministry that's going to start distributing money, that's going to start distributing rights free to Nigerians, this is not what Nigerians want at this point in time. We want a country that we can all beat our chests and say, this is our own. And it starts, with government cutting down on the cost of governance. When you know that things are tough, you must take drastic decisions. So I don't know. Now, the Minister of Livestock, I keep saying you have the Ministry of Agriculture, and then you have Ministry of Livestock. So what do we want to achieve? Is it that you're just creating ministries because you want to satisfy a particular region or you want to satisfy a particular people? We've gone past that. We're in the 21st century, where people are thinking as if there is no box. Why is our government caught in the, our government is still in the 1960s.
Okay, but this particular person, this Nantewa, from his biography, he's a politician, although, but then he's a digital system and energy engineer. So he's someone who understands tech and all of those. Perhaps in the last time Betta Idu was asked how they would disperse money to people, he said they will use GPS. She said rather they will use GPS. So do you see him deploying more technology this time around to also help understanding the fact that he's a core tech guy based on his biography or his
when you say using GPS,
it wasn't me that said it. Betta Idu said it.
Well, yes,
that they will employ the use of GPS. When they asked how they would,
the GPS will help her to locate the port of the forest.
She said that.
No, I know.
Okay, so.
It will help her to locate part of the forest. So maybe this one coming now will deploy computers or deploy
to locate
obviously, or use drones. Probably tie the money on the back of the drone and just move it to the people.
Okay, so looking at Bianca Ojukwu, for instance, very quickly, Bianca Ojukwu, we do know, was Nigeria's High Commissioner for an ambassador in Spain. Mm-hmm. Many would have thought that, excuse me, someone of her capacity, shouldn't she rather be the senior minister than the junior minister?
Yeah, but I just said that. So I said, why would you appoint somebody that is more like, even though she's a politician as well, but she's more of a technocrat, being an ambassador before now. So why would you appoint her as a minister of state? Why don't you give her something that resonates with who she should be, if you really want to give her an appointment? And then if you notice, since this government came to power, I think it was just 2 weeks or 3 weeks back, when Bianca came out and was talking about the release, asking for the release of
Nnamdi Kanu. She's been quite calm.
So it means, maybe because she just came out to talk about Nnamdi Kanu, everybody, once you mention Nnamdi Kanu, the government wants to find a way to pacify you. They want to close you. They want to shut you down. They don't want you to talk about. Nobody wants to talk about Nnamdi Kanu. Not even the leaders in the southeast. They come out in the open during the day. They talk of Nnamdi Kanu. When they go back into their rooms, it's like no. Because for me, I see no reason why Nnamdi Kanu is still incarcerated till today.
So do you believe that this is one of the reasons why he's still incarcerated? Because his people have not galvanized.
See, when Sunday Igboho was picked up and locked up in Benin Republic, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Your former president, the Ooni of Ife, named them.
Wole Soyinka.
All the prominent persons in the southwest came out to speak for him. They went for him. But in the southeast, nobody speaks for anybody in the southeast. The greed, the selfishness, the wickedness in the southeast is alarming. And the leaders in the southeast are not for the people. They are against the people.
But what would they do?
What would they do?
To do?
There's a lot they can do.
Because a lot of them are saying that, you just mentioned that, the kind of portfolios that we're giving to the Southeasterners. And it's not just about this administration. The Muhammadu Buhari's administration, for instance, called the Southeasterners the dot in the circle. And you saw the kind of portfolio that was given to them. And the same thing is happening now.
Let me see.
So do you blame them?
Precious.
Sir?
Let me be very honest with you. Sometimes when issues revolve about ethnicity, I try to run away from it. You know why? While growing up, I learned from people who believed in this country. I learned from people who believed in one Nigeria. Even some of them died believing in one Nigeria.
Okay.
So I am a product of that. And that's why I try. But when Buhari called the Igbos a doth, how many of the prominent Igbo leaders came out to speak against it or speak out about it? None. Very few of them. They were all hiding their tails between their legs. It was just the youths, the younger generation of Igbos that came out and said, no, we are not a dot. Even some of them said, even though we are a dot.
The Enyinnaya Baribe spoke out. He spoke and even made a t-shirt about dot in the circle that he was wearing.
Speaking out.
Yes.
When you say it's just one person, who else?
I'm just saying.
Who? I know, I said who?
He's a prominent Igbo man.
Who else?
Enyinnaya Baribe is one.
Do that to the southwest. And you will see the routine of people that will come out. Do that to the north. That is when you see solidarity. The Igbos need to begin to think of how to become one.
Okay. So
they need to speak for themselves. They need to have leaders who speak for the people.
So you think they should have one voice?
Exactly.
Okay. So moving on to other.
I thank God for the Prime Minister Mazi Simon Ekpa, the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Biafra. Biafran people are going to defend themselves. If it's going to take everyone out to defend Biafra, we will do that. Till the last man standing. May Chukwu Okike Abịama continue to guide our Prime Minister Mazi Simon Ekpa. May Chukwu Okike Abịama continue to guide our Liberation Army. Biafra government, peace, progress, unity and equity. We move airborne. Thank you and stay safe.